This week's episode of Brains on Games is about a cooperative card game in a tiny box. Welcome to Brains on Games. I'm Dr. Brian McDonald, and this episode we're going to talk about a cooperative card game that comes in a very small package. I can't think of a cooperative game that I've played that's smaller than this. It's a little tiny game called Regicide, which can be played in between 5 minutes if you do poorly and you lose right away, and 20 minutes. You can play a solo game or with 2 to 4 players, and it works with kids aged 10 and up. You play this game with just a regular deck of cards, but of course the actual official Regicide cards have this great artwork on it. It's sort of got this cutout stylized art that I really like, but there's 2 stacks. One is the face cards. So you take the kings and the queens and the jacks out of the deck. You take just the kings, you shuffle them up, they go on the bottom of the enemy stack. So there'll be 4 kings here. Then you take the 4 queens and then shuffle them up and they go on top of the kings, and then the jacks go at the very top. And then you have your enemy deck all ready to go. You've got a hand of cards based on your maximum hand size is based on the number of players. So in a single player game, like me showing you this game right now, in a single player game, there's going to be 8 cards in my hand that I can play. So this is the tavern where you draw those cards from, and then there would be a discard pile nearby. All you do is you flip over your enemy, and this is who you're going to be battling against at the beginning of the game. You win the game by defeating all 12 of these enemies, and it does get progressively harder. So you've got a little cheat sheet here that shows that the jacks will have an attack of 10 and health of 20, so that means I have to do 20 points of damage in order to defeat the jack. Then it's 15 and 30, and it's 20 and 40 for the kings. You know, the first time I played this game, I didn't get past the 3rd jack, so it is definitely a challenging game. It says on the box it's a challenging cooperative game, and I would agree with that. Here I have the Jack of Hearts, and I'm going to try and play cards in order to do damage to that jack that's going to equal to 20. So if I play my 8 of spades that I showed you earlier, that's going to do 8 damage, and then I'm going to take damage equal to this attack value. There's a little trick though, because each of the suits has a special ability. The spades act as a shield, so that's going to protect me from the enemy's damage. So he has an attack of 10, and normally I'd have to discard cards with a value equal to 10, but because I've got my 8 of spades here, I'm only going to take 2. So I could just discard, I don't have a 2, so I'd have to discard, say, the 4 of clubs, and then he's going to get discarded, and then the play continues. The one trick about these enemies is that the enemy's suit makes them immune to that suit's ability. So I can't use a heart ability, that suit ability, when I'm fighting against the Jack of Hearts. Normally, if I played a heart like this one, oh, I turned her upside down. Let me flip her around. Normally, if I played a heart like this one, you've got this little lion who has a health potion. The hearts allow me to take cards back from the discard pile and put them at the bottom of the tavern. So I'm starting to get some more cards that I can draw from, which is a very important option as you play the game. You cannot do that when you're up against the Jack of Hearts. The diamonds allow me to draw more cards into my hand, so I can only draw cards if I play a diamond, and this is going to allow me to draw up to 6 cards. And in fact, if I'm playing the game with multiple players, you would go around the table. So each player would draw 1 until you've got a total of 6 cards that have been drawn when you're playing the 6 of diamonds. The spades, like I said, are a shield. The club will do double damage. So this would do, if I had been able to play it instead of discarding it, this would do 8 damage to the jack instead of only 4. There are a few other little tricks that can be helpful in this game because it is quite tough to beat these face cards in the deck. One is that I can play pairs of cards or even 3 of a kind. The total has to be 10 or less. So I can't do a pair of 6s and do 12 damage, but I could do a pair of 5s and do 10. You get to use the ability of each suit when you do that, at the higher value. So here I'm going to get 10 cards back from the discard pile into the tavern deck, and I'm going to be shielded against 10 damage from the jack, which would totally shield me from having to discard any cards. The other special option that you get in the game are the aces. The aces can always be used. They're animal companions, hence the A, right? They're animal companions. They have a power of 1, but they can also be used in combination with other cards in order to get the benefits of both suits. And that is Regicide. That's just how you play that game. You continue going around and playing those turns and defeating as many of those creatures as you can. Unfortunately, we usually didn't win this game. One of the things I really do like about it is that it's in such a small package. When my kids were younger, if we were going out to a restaurant, we had to wait for our food to come, or if I was waiting for my son to finish soccer practice or whatever, and I was there with his brother, I always did try to have some little game that I could bring with me that we could play while sitting at a picnic table or at a restaurant or something, so that it would keep him occupied. And I love playing games with my kids, so I love having these small box games, and this is the smallest one I've seen that's a cooperative style game, which I really liked. What skills are you working on when you play this one? Well, you're doing some flexible problem solving because things keep changing as you go. You don't know what the other player's cards are necessarily. The rules are a little bit fuzzy about how you're able to communicate what you're allowed to say about your cards. Often, when we're playing a cooperative game, we would sort of say, well, we wouldn't give the specific numbers that we have, but we might give hints about, well, I think I can beat this one, or I'm ready to take on the next one. You can see how many cards the opponent has. Or not the opponent, you can see how many cards your partner has, and that'll give you an idea if they're going to be able to withstand some damage from the next person. So you might, not quite do away with the enemy so that the other player can do it if they have more cards, because they're going to have to take a turn right away after that. And hopefully they'll have a card that will allow you to draw some more if you're running low. So really, the math is very, very simple. There's a little teeny tiny bit of mental math calculations that you're doing with numbers up to 40. You're subtracting the health down. 40 is the maximum damage that you'll have to do to defeat one of those kings. But mostly you're sort of solving this puzzle. You're doing that flexible problem solving or fluid reasoning and trying to find a way to budget those cards so that you can get their maximum value in order to defeat as many of those enemies as possible. So thanks so much to the creators of Regicide for sending this game along. It's one that I've carried in my pocket here and there in order to be able to pull it out at a moment's notice. And we really did like this one, like I said. If you have any questions for me or suggestions for the show, you can leave them in the comments below this video, or you can email me at brian@brainsongames.ca. Brainsongames.ca is the website. That's where future episodes will go, and the previous ones are up there already. Brains on Games is the Twitter handle and the Facebook page and the Instagram feed, so we're all over the place. And if you enjoyed this video and you want to be notified of future ones, you can head on over to YouTube and click that subscribe button. Thanks for joining me, and hopefully I'll see you next time.